Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we do all the research so you don't have to. Today we're doing a deep dive on Unilever,
Okay.
the multinational consumer goods company. To help you decide if this stock is something that you might want to add to your portfolio, we've got a lot of information in front of us, everything from Unilever's own website to some of their recent acquisition history, dividend information and their stock performance, and even a little bit about their sustainability practices.
Yeah, Unilever has a really extensive history. I mean, going all the way back to 1872 when it was founded, headquartered in London. The company has this really large portfolio of brands and products that many of us use every single day.
Yeah, I was really interested to learn that they organize their business into 5 distinct segments: beauty and well-being, personal care, home care,
Yeah.
and then they also have foods and ice cream.
Yeah, you've probably heard of their 30 power brands, but, digging a bit deeper into Unilever's website, you can actually find a full list of their products and ingredients, which I think is valuable for investors who really want to know what they're getting into.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Unilever's no stranger to acquisitions. Data from TrackDen shows that they've completed 58 deals, with an average acquisition amount of, get this, $3.1 billion. Wow. That's a serious commitment to growth through acquisitions.
And looking back, it seems like 2017 was a big year for them. They were really active, making strategic moves to expand their market presence and product portfolio.
Okay, let's shift gears now and talk about Unilever's recent financial performance, which of course is a critical factor for any potential investor. Zacks gives the company a hold rating, meaning that they expect the stock to perform pretty much in line with the broader market.
Right. And while that might not sound super exciting, it's important to consider that Zacks also gives them a growth score of A, which suggests there is decent growth potential there. However, they also give Unilever a momentum score of D, which indicates that the stock price isn't moving much right now.
So what does all of that mean in terms of numbers? Well, Zacks projects a 0.94% sales growth for this year, which is slightly below the median growth rate for the S&P 500.
Yeah, but one thing that caught my eye was that, according to TipRanks, Unilever has consistently beaten its sales estimates in the past 12 months, actually outperforming its industry peers. So that suggests a certain level of operational efficiency, which I think a lot of investors look for.
For sure. Now let's talk about dividends and share buybacks, two things that are super important for income-oriented investors. Our data from Stock Analysis confirms that Unilever does indeed have a dividend policy in place, although we don't have any specific amounts in the materials we've gathered so far.
Okay, and as far as share buybacks go, Y-Charts confirms that Unilever does repurchase its own stock, though again, we don't have any hard numbers on the scale of these buybacks in the free information that we have.
Okay, so let's talk valuation. What's Zacks' take on whether Unilever is overvalued, undervalued, or fairly valued at its current price?
Well, according to Zacks, Unilever appears to be fairly valued. They have a price-to-earnings, or PE ratio, of 19.15, which means that for every dollar of Unilever's earnings, investors are currently paying $19.15, which is useful when you're comparing them to other similar companies.
Makes sense. Now, Unilever's website talks a lot about innovation and R&D and pioneering sustainable progress, but we don't have any specific details about their actual innovation pipeline in the research that we've done so far.
Right, while they highlight those concepts, they haven't really given any concrete information about specific projects or anything like that, which is worth noting, I think.
Definitely something to keep in mind. And speaking of sustainable progress, that seems to be a big part of their branding and their overall strategy. They highlight all sorts of initiatives focusing on climate, nature, plastics, livelihoods.
True, but there's also some controversy surrounding their Rainforest Alliance certification for certain products. Some critics are arguing that the certification doesn't guarantee a minimum price for producers, which leaves them vulnerable to price swings in the market. And there are also some concerns that allowing the seal on products with only 30% certified content is kind of misleading to consumers and potentially weakening what that certification really stands for.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's clear that sustainability is a big part of Unilever's story. But how does that actually translate into real-world results? And what does it mean for investors who are trying to evaluate their long-term prospects? It really raises questions about how effective those initiatives are and whether they're meeting investor expectations and industry best practices.
Right, it's crucial to look beyond just the marketing and figure out what the real impact is of all these initiatives. That might mean comparing Unilever's sustainability performance to their competitors and looking at independent reports or audits, and even considering how their practices align with what consumers are demanding and what the regulations are looking like.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that we haven't really seen in the information that we have is any specific data about Unilever's market share. And given how competitive the consumer goods industry is, I think it would be really valuable to understand where they stand in the market.
Absolutely. Knowing their market share in different product categories in different parts of the world would give us a much better idea of how strong they are compared to their competitors and how much potential they have to grow.
Okay, so let's summarize what we know so far. They've got a really long history, a diverse range of brands, and a track record of making acquisitions. Their financials seem decent, although not amazing with that hold rating from Zacks, and they're really committed to sustainability. But as we've just discussed, there are some questions about how effective they actually are.
Exactly. And we're still missing some important pieces of the puzzle, like the details of their innovation pipeline and what their market share actually looks like.
So let's try to answer the big question here. Is Unilever stock something that you should consider adding to your portfolio? What are the advantages of investing in this company?
Well, their brand portfolio is really well established, and they have a global reach. And those are definite strengths. And their history with acquisitions shows that they're willing to adapt and grow. And of course, their focus on sustainability, even with the questions we've raised, might appeal to investors who are looking for companies that prioritize environmental and social responsibility.
On the other side of the coin, though, what are some of the potential downsides or red flags that might make investors hesitate?
Well, that hold rating from Zacks means that their growth prospects aren't that impressive. And their momentum score is low, which means their stock price isn't really moving upwards right now. And the lack of transparency around their power brands and their innovation pipeline could be a concern. And then there's that controversy surrounding their sustainability certifications that raises questions about how genuine they are and what impact they're really having.
Okay, so to put it simply, is Unilever a buy, a sell, or a hold?
Well, there's no easy answer to that, unfortunately. It really depends on what your investment goals are, how much risk you're comfortable with, and what your overall portfolio looks like.
So if you're looking for a stable company that pays dividends with a strong global presence and that focuses on sustainability, then Unilever might be worth looking into. But if rapid growth and momentum are your main goals, then there might be better options out there.
Right. It's all about choosing investments that match your own individual needs and your risk tolerance.
This deep dive has given us a good overview of Unilever. But as we've discussed, there are still some gaps in our knowledge. What would you recommend for investors who want to dig deeper and get a more complete picture of the company?
I would definitely recommend looking at their financial statements and their investor presentations to get a better sense of their performance and what they're projecting for the future. And I would also suggest exploring independent research reports and industry analyses. Those can give you valuable insights into where they stand in the market and who their competitors are. And of course, checking out Unilever's website and their sustainability reports in detail can help you understand what they're doing in that area and how much progress they're making.
That's great advice. Remember, everyone doing your research is really important before you make any investment decisions. Don't just go by headlines or summaries. Take the time to really understand the company, the industry they're in, and what drives their performance.
Yeah, and you should always think about the bigger economic and geopolitical picture as well. Unilever operates all over the world, which means they're exposed to different kinds of risks and opportunities, like fluctuations in currency exchange rates, trade policies, and political stability in different regions.
So taking those external factors into account is crucial, whether you're considering investing in Unilever or any other multinational company for that matter.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive into Unilever, let's leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, so considering that there's a growing trend towards healthier and more sustainable products, how well do you think Unilever is positioned to adapt to those changing demands and hold on to its market share in the coming years?
That's the million-dollar question for any company in the consumer goods sector. Unilever's success in the future really depends on their ability to stay ahead of these trends. Investors should keep a close eye on their innovation pipeline, how they're developing new products, and how they're marketing themselves to see if they're ready to thrive in this evolving landscape.
It sounds like Unilever's ability to innovate and adapt to these consumer trends will be a major factor in determining their future success. Investors should pay close attention to how they're changing their products and their marketing strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. The consumer goods world is constantly evolving, and companies that fail to innovate and adapt risk falling behind. It's not just about coming up with new products, it's also about understanding how consumer tastes and habits are changing and tailoring their offerings to meet those new demands.
So to wrap up this deep dive into Unilever stock, we've examined a whole range of factors, from their financial performance and valuation to their sustainability initiatives and market position.
We've highlighted both the potential upsides and the potential downsides of investing in this company, hopefully giving you a well-rounded perspective to make your own investment decisions.
Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to invest in Unilever or any other stock comes down to your individual goals, how much risk you're willing to take, and what your overall portfolio already looks like.
Right. Thorough research is key. Don't just rely on what you hear on this podcast or any other single source.
Take the time to dig into Unilever's financial reports, investor presentations, and independent research reports. That way you can form your own informed opinion.
Remember, investing is a journey, not a destination. The more you learn, the better prepared you'll be to handle the ups and downs of the market and make smart investment decisions.
And if you want to hear more deep dives like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment letting us know what stocks you'd like us to analyze next.
Thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We'll be back soon with another episode, exploring a new company and sharing the insights you need to make informed investment decisions.
It seems like Unilever's ability to innovate and adapt to these consumer trends will be a key determinant of their future success. Investors should keep a close eye on how they evolve their product offerings and marketing strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. The consumer goods landscape is constantly changing, and companies that fail to innovate and adapt risk falling behind. It's not just about developing new products, but also about understanding how consumer preferences and behaviors are evolving and tailoring their offerings accordingly.
So to wrap up this deep dive into Unilever stock, we've explored a variety of factors from their financial performance and valuation to their sustainability initiatives and market position.
We've highlighted both the potential strengths and weaknesses of this company, giving you a well-rounded perspective to inform your own investment decisions.
Ultimately, the decision to invest in Unilever or any stock comes down to your individual investment goals, risk tolerance, and the overall composition of your portfolio.
Thorough research is key. Don't rely solely on what you hear on this podcast or any other single source.
Take the time to explore Unilever's financial reports, investor presentations, and independent research to form your own informed opinion.
Remember, investing is a journey, not a destination. The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the complexities of the market and make sound investment decisions.
And for more deep dives like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and let us know in the comment section what stocks you'd like us to analyze next.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll be back soon with another episode exploring a new company and giving you the insights you need to make smart investment decisions.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Unilever. Hopefully we've given you a good starting point for your own research.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today, from their history and their brand portfolio to their financial performance, their approach to sustainability, and even some of the controversies surrounding their practices.
Remember, investing in any company requires careful consideration, and Unilever is no exception.
Right, you should always do your due diligence. Look beyond the headlines and the marketing materials and form your own informed opinion based on solid research.
If you want to learn more about Unilever, we encourage you to visit their website and explore their financial reports and investor presentations. You can also find a lot of valuable information on independent research platforms like Zacks and YCharts.
Those are great resources.
As always, we appreciate you joining us for the deep dive.
And we hope you found this episode informative and helpful.
If you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of companies and stocks.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.